The dropship hissed as it landed, steam curling into the violet twilight of Soren Prime. Captain Rhys Vale stepped down the ramp, boots crunching over silver dust, heart thrumming like a war drum. His hand hovered near the sidearm strapped to his thigh, though there was no threat in sight, only a perfectly still horizon and a waiting platform flanked by Matari sentries in ceremonial crimson. And at the center, 3 towering women on their knees. Each wore a sleeveless ceremonial robe of obsidian mesh, their shoulders etched with glowing runes that pulsed faintly like heartbeats. Their wrists were bound in gold rings, more ornament than restraint, but simple enough. They didn't look up. Didn't flinch. Didn't speak. A voice came from the comm beacon behind him, automated and flat. "Welcome, Captain Rhys Vale. Per peace protocol, you have been assigned 3 Matari wives. Please confirm receipt." He didn't move. "Wives?" he whispered. "They're not even looking at me. They're not allowed to. Not until you touch them," a human liaison behind him said, smirking. "Treaty clause. Deference display." "Deference?" Rhys spat. "They're not brides. They're sacrifices." Still kneeling, one of the alien women slowly lifted her head. Her gaze met his, and held. Her skin was midnight silver, scarred but proud. Her eyes shimmered like molten gold, framed by black war paint across sharp cheekbones. A single braid fell across her chest. She looked like she'd once commanded armies. And now she kneeled for him. "You think we want this?" Her voice was low and steady. "Do you think we'd kneel if the treaty gave us a choice?" Rhys stepped back. The other 2 women stirred, one tightening her fingers, the other shifting her weight in silent discomfort. "I didn't ask for this," he said. Kayara, he would learn her name later, rose slowly, deliberately. "Neither did we, human." The sentries tensed, but she ignored them. "I am first of blood Kayara, last of the Night Fury vow. Before this assignment, I commanded 3,000 soldiers. Now, by decree, I am yours." She stepped forward until she towered over him. A full head taller. Broader. Deadlier. "But don't mistake my obedience for consent. You were given property. But I was given a sentence. And I intend to survive it." Rhys couldn't look away. She didn't blink. And for a moment, he saw not an alien, not a weapon, not a ceremonial bride, but someone caged behind a wall of pride and fire. He took a breath. "I won't use you. You already are." The assignment quarters were expansive but empty, designed for integration but sterilized of warmth. 3 sleeping quarters. A shared atrium. Surveillance hidden in corners. Rhys tried to keep distance. But it was impossible. Every moment in their presence was a study in tension. The second assigned wife, Lyri, never spoke aloud. She communicated in flickers of emotion, Matari empaths, trained to mirror feelings, not voice them. Her presence calmed the room, even as her eyes flicked between Rhys and Kayara with quiet knowing. The third, Thess, was younger, always tinkering with strange tech and making irreverent jokes that didn't quite translate. She teased Kayara openly. Called Rhys softcore warlord. Kayara ignored them both. She trained in the courtyard every dawn, blades flashing, muscles taut, rage simmering just under the surface. Rhys watched from the shadows. Sometimes for seconds. Sometimes for entire mornings. She never invited him. But she never asked him to leave, either. On the third night, the bond threshold passed. The ritual had not been performed. If a Matari wife wasn't used, within 72 hours of assignment, her designation became defective. She would be reclaimed. Executed quietly. Off record. Rhys didn't know this, until Thess blurted it out during a standoff at dinner. "You do know Kayara gets called at dawn, right?" Thess said between bites. "You didn't initiate the ritual. Protocol sees that as rejection." Rhys dropped his fork. Kayara didn't even flinch. "It won't come to that," she said flatly. "You don't know them," Thess countered. "They'll drag you into the desert, call it a rite of redemption, and we'll be back on the platform tomorrow with fresh smiles and matching collars." Rhys stood. His voice cracked. No one told me this. Kayara's eyes finally met his again. Because you weren't meant to care. The room went still. Outside, twin moons crested the horizon. A cool wind whispered through the stone lattice. Lyri looked away, grief radiating from her in soft psychic waves. Rhys took one step toward Kayara. I won't let that happen. You think this is yours to decide? She growled. You think this is some tragic love story? You don't know our kind. You don't know what it means to be marked. To be sent like cattle because our people are too proud to admit they've already lost. I know war, he said. Then you know nothing about what comes after it. That night Rhys found her on the rooftop, silhouetted by alien stars. Her hair loose. Her eyes softer. Why did you come here? He asked quietly. She didn't answer. Why not fight back? Escape? You're strong enough. She turned to him, slow and deliberate. Because dying in chains is still dying. At least here, I can choose what kind of weapon I become. Rhys stepped closer. She didn't move. Then let me fight for you. Not with blades. Not with orders. But with choices. Real ones. You want to leave, I'll help you. You want to stay, I'll earn it. She stared at him. Eyes unreadable. Soul flickering behind the gold. You don't know what you're offering. She whispered. Then show me. Silence. Then a whisper. We have rituals for this. For truth speaking. Teach me. A pause. Her voice broke, only slightly. Don't touch me, unless you're sure. Rhys reached up, hand trembling, and brushed his fingers against hers. Warm. Alive. And for the first time since kneeling on that platform, Kayara closed her eyes. Kayara stood beneath the sacred flame spire, its alien crystal core casting amber light across her bare shoulders. The ritual chamber was silent, save for the soft flick of burning ether petals that drifted like glowing snow from the ceiling. She was stripped of her battle garb now, draped instead in ceremonial silks that shimmered like dusk light against her silver skin. Rhys swallowed hard. He hadn't meant to say yes. But he had. And now he was inside the Mat-Ari bonding nexus, a holy space, off-limits to all but those chosen for the rite of resonance. Where emotions became oaths. Where intent shaped biology. You can leave now, Kayara said, voice low, unreadable. You touched me once. That was mercy. If you do it here, it becomes law. I'm not afraid of law, Rhys said softly. No. But you should be afraid of me. She turned, golden eyes catching his in the flickering amber glow. Because if you go through with this, if we bond, I will feel every part of you. Every fear. Every desire. Every lie. Her voice dropped. And you will feel mine. The space seemed to shrink between them, heat rolling like invisible smoke through the air. Rhys stepped closer. I want the truth, Kayara. Even if it hurts. She reached up and removed her war braid. It fell like a blade hitting stone. For her species, it was the ultimate sign of vulnerability, abandoning the legacy of command. A public stripping of self. Something done only once in a Matari's life. And she was doing it for him. Sit, she whispered. He obeyed. She circled behind him, then knelt, fingers hovering just above his spine. There are lines, she said. Not seen. But felt. They run through the nervous system. Our people call them sharith. The bond lines. He felt her touch, light as breath, just below his neck. A slow, precise glide. They connect heart to heart, she continued. But if severed, the backlash can cripple both minds. Forever. Why do you risk it? He asked. Because dying without ever being known is worse than death itself. The ritual began in silence. Kayara placed her hands on his shoulders, exhaling slowly. Rhys felt her heartbeat against his back, steady at first, then stuttering as her breathing hitched. Something passed between them. Not words. Not thoughts. But emotion, raw, electric, too vivid to be his alone. Fear. rage, grief. Then a flicker of something softer, something he couldn't name. He turned to face her. She blinked once. And suddenly, the whole world bent around them. A flash of memory hit him, her as a child, standing before a line of burning ships. Another pulse, her kneeling before a tribunal, head high as her command was stripped. Another, her voice silent in the dark, whispering to no one. If I must be broken, let me choose how I shatter. Rhys gasped. The memories weren't just images, they felt like his own. Kayara's jaw clenched, sweat on her brow. This isn't how it's supposed to go, she muttered. You're pushing too deep. You let me in. And now I can't stop you. She leaned into him, forehead touching his. I thought I could control it. Control you. But you're not like the others. You're not compliant. You're honest. And that terrifies me. The bond ignited with a flash of light, just behind her collarbone. A glowing rune flared into existence, shaped like a double helix wrapped in flame. Her mark. But then, something impossible. The same mark seared across his skin. Rhys doubled over, clutching his chest. Kayara caught him, holding him tightly as the energy surged through their shared nerve pathways. She stared in horror. No. No, that's not. You weren't supposed to mark. That only happens when. When what? He rasped. She whispered, broken. When love is real. The silence that followed was deafening. Kayara looked away. You don't understand what that means on my world. You've just made us fugitives. The Council forbids dual markings. They see it as contamination. Matari cannot love humans. We're allowed to serve them. Mate them. But love, she stood, shaking, is rebellion. He joined her, heart racing. Then let's rebel. Kayara stared at him like he just declared war. You have no idea what you're saying. I do, he said, stepping forward. We're already breaking rules just by breathing each other's air. He cupped her cheek, hesitant, reverent. Let's shatter a few more. She trembled. For the first time in her life. And then she kissed him. Not gently. Not shyly. But with a ferocity that matched the rage inside her. Their lips crashed like storms, teeth and fire and heat that threatened to undo them both. She tasted like fire fruit and blood. He tasted like wind and salt and ache. Their hands found skin, their bodies aligned like planets in violent orbit, and for a moment, just one, everything else disappeared. The world. The treaty. The threats. Gone. There was only breath and heartbeat and touch. And then. A thunderclap. The chamber lights shattered above them. The door exploded inward. Matari elite guards stormed in, energy spears drawn, armor gleaming red. Kayara pulled Rhys behind her with terrifying speed. A commander stepped forward, voice like ice. Kayara of the Night Fury vow. You are hereby sentenced for traitorous bonding with a Terran. The human will be executed. You will be reclaimed. Kayara's eyes blazed as she drew her blade from the ceremonial altar. No, she growled. I won't kneel again. To love across species is heresy. But to fight for that love is revolution. The ceremonial blade in Kayara's hand shimmered like liquid flame. The edge hummed, resonating with the bond now etched into her flesh. Her body stood between Rhys and the elite guard, but her soul, shaken, divided, wavered like a candle in a storm. He could see it in her eyes, resolve colliding with fear. Stand down, Kayara! The armored commander barked, his voice rippling with authority. The Terran is expendable. You are not. But Kayara didn't flinch. Instead, she reached for Rhys' hand. And held it. In front of them. In full defiance of 1,000 years of tradition. I was chosen to be silent, she said, voice cracking. But silence isn't survival. It's surrender. She took a step forward, sword in one hand, Rhys's fingers entwined in the other. I will not surrender. The moment shattered like glass. The guards surged forward. Rhys had fought in 3 off-world campaigns, But none of them prepared him for the raw precision of Matari elite warriors. They moved like shadows, silent and lethal. A spear grazed his shoulder as he dove behind a crystalline pillar. Kayara was a blur of silver and rage. Her blade carved arcs of crimson light through the air, dancing between bone and armor. She wasn't just fighting. She was reclaiming something long buried, her voice, her identity, her truth. To love a human is weakness, one guard sneered as she disarmed him. Then let me show you what weakness can do. She spat, and drove her blade through his chest. Thess and Lyri arrived seconds later, summoned by the silent ripple of psychic distress. Lyri's presence slammed into the guards like a tidal wave of emotion. Fear. Doubt. Regret. Her empathic projection fractured their unity, causing hesitation in their rhythm. Exit route, 12 meters north! Thess yelled, slamming a fist into the temple console. You bonded without telling us? I didn't plan it! Kayara snapped, covering Reese with her body as another pulse lance tore past. You never plan. That's your damn problem. We don't have time for this. Reese growled, grabbing Kayara's arm. Move! They ran. The tunnel beneath the Nexus was carved in spirals of obsidian and pulsing amber. It twisted like a vein beneath the planet's crust, alive, hot, humming with power. Every step echoed with the weight of betrayal. Kayara's breathing grew ragged. Reese noticed the way she clutched her side, burned, not bleeding. You're hurt, he said. I'm fine. You're not. She turned to him, halting mid-stride. The others ran ahead, clearing the path. You don't get to worry about me, Reese, she said, voice cold. What the hell are you talking about? This bond, this mark, it changes everything. I was a commander. Now I'm a criminal. I was Matari. Now I'm yours. You were never mine, he said softly. And I never wanted to own you. Her eyes shimmered, not with anger, but something deeper. Ache. Shame. You gave me a choice, she whispered. No one ever has. And I don't know how to live with that. She stepped forward, touching the mark on his chest. You shouldn't have loved me. Reese leaned in, his forehead brushing hers. I didn't choose love, Kayara. It found me. Wrapped in fury and fire and everything I thought I didn't deserve. Silence stretched between them, taut as a tripwire. And then Thessa's voice crackled in over the comm bead. We've got incoming at the outer gate. Evac window 4 minutes. Either bond harder or run faster. They emerged onto a cliffside plateau, wind howling across the jagged alien horizon. A stolen ship waited, small, rusted, old-world Terran make. Thess was already in the cockpit. Lyri stood guard, aura blazing with empathic fire. The Matari guards followed close behind, their silhouettes flickering in the distance. Reese looked back. So did Kayara. We're not going to outrun them, she said. No, Reese replied. But we can make them hesitate. He reached into his boot, pulled out a charged crystal. Kayara blinked. You brought explosives to a wedding? He smirked. Old habit. She laughed, just once, a rough, broken sound like a blade scraping stone. Then she turned serious. Once that door closes, the ship can't come back. You coming with me or not? He asked. She paused. Then pulled him into a kiss, hard, fast, searing with urgency. Her words burned against his lips. If I run, I become legend. If I stay, I become martyr. But with you. She looked him in the eyes, fierce and raw. I become free. They ran for the ship. Lyri's shield burst as the guards descended, but Thess fired up the engines, heat warping the air. Reese pulled Kayara aboard just as the blast detonated behind them, rock and flame swallowing the cliffside. The doors sealed. They were in the air. Inside the humming cargo bay, breathless and bruised, Kayara collapsed into his arms. Her fingers trembled as they trailed down his jaw. Reese kissed her forehead. Held her. No words needed. Not yet. Thess stood nearby, arms crossed, smirking. So, bonded fugitives. That's new. What's the plan now? Reese looked at Kayara. She looked at the stars. We fight back. Not with weapons. With truth. She pressed her palm to the glass viewport. Outside, stars bled into the void. Inside, a heart once forged in war dared to hope for peace. But peace would not come easy. Cliffhanger ending. A blinking light on the console flared red. Incoming transmission. Council tracking beacon activated. They weren't free yet. Not even close. If we burn for this, then let the fire be seen from every corner of the galaxy. The stars outside the viewport flickered like nervous gods. Inside the stolen cruiser, silence stretched like a blade between them. Kayara sat cross-legged in the ship's dim medical bay, her ceremonial silk stained with ash and blood. Across from her, Reese leaned against the wall, watching her chest rise and fall in unsteady breaths. Between them, the decision neither dared to speak aloud. They had 30 minutes before the Council's enforcers intercepted them. Tracked. Tagged. Outnumbered. Kayara finally broke the silence. We don't outrun this. Reese nodded, eyes fixed on the faint glow of her bond mark. No. You could still leave, she said softly. You're not the traitor. I am. He stepped forward, voice low. Then I guess I'm proud to be guilty by love. Her gaze flicked up. Eyes full of thunder. You still think this is about love? He didn't flinch. It always was. They gathered in the cockpit. Lyri stood near the comms, hands trembling, barely holding her empathic shield intact. Thess tapped rapidly on the console, decrypting the beacon signature. There's a delay protocol in the signal, Thess said. We can buy 15 minutes if I flood the channel with echo traffic. 15 minutes isn't enough to escape, Kayara said. No, Thess replied. But it's enough to speak. Kayara turned toward the console and activated the public transmission relay. Her face, bruised and fierce, lit the holofeed. Across hundreds of systems, Matari and human alike, the signal rippled into space. This is Kayara of the Night Fury Val, she said. Bonded to a Terran by choice, not command. I speak not as a bride, but as a soldier. As a woman. As someone told to kneel, and who rose instead. Her voice was fire and velvet. Every word a blade dipped in hope. The treaty told us to mate for peace. But peace without choice is slavery. The Council demands I die for loving a human. Let them. She looked at Reese. Then back at the feed. But before they do, I want you to know, love changed me. It burned everything I was told to be. And in the ashes I became free. The signal cut. Thess exhaled. We're famous now. The enforcer ship appeared 20 clicks out, black as judgment, humming with war tech. Reese stood at Kayara's side, heart racing. Any regrets? He asked. She shook her head. Only that I didn't fight sooner. He took her hand. Held it. I'm with you. Whatever comes. She smiled, small, soft, the kind only he had ever seen. I know. A direct hail blared across the ship. Kayara. Reese Vale. Surrender, and you will be granted the dignity of trial. Kayara pressed the calm. We didn't ask for dignity. We asked for freedom. Silence. Then a chilling reply. Then you will be made examples. She stood straighter. Good. The ship shook. A tractor beam locked onto their hull. They wouldn't survive the boarding. So Kayara walked to the airlock and stared through the reinforced glass at the massive war cruiser looming outside. She closed her eyes and whispered something ancient. A Matari phrase. Reese stood behind her. What did you say? She turned. Tears glistened at the edge of her lashes. I asked the ancestors to remember my name. He stepped closer. And I'll make sure your name is never forgotten. They kissed again. No fire this time. No desperation. Only truth. 2 soldiers. 2 rebels. 2 hearts that dared to cross the line drawn by fear. And just as the enforcers prepared to breach, A signal interrupted them. A second transmission. This is Commander Javel of the Outer Tribunal. We received the broadcast. Pause. Stand down. Immediate ceasefire. Treaty clauses are under review. The warship stopped. Kayara opened her eyes, stunned. They heard us? Thess whispered. Leary let out a silent sob and collapsed into the pilot's seat. Reese just smiled, breathless. No. They felt you. 2 days later, under protection of diplomatic shield, Kayara and Reese stood before a mixed tribunal of humans and Matari, broadcast to the system in full transparency. There were no lawyers. No weapons. Only truth. You redefined the bond, said the human arbitrator. By creating dual-mark resonance, you proved love can exist between our species in ways we hadn't believed. You shattered our cultural assumptions, the Matari elder said. But maybe they needed shattering. A pause. Then a simple verdict. No punishment. No exile. No ownership. Only freedom. Outside the chamber, Kayara pulled Reese aside. For the first time, there was no tension between them. Only stillness. Only belonging. I never thought anyone would fight for me, she said. I never thought anyone would let me, he replied. She smiled, and placed her palm against his. The twin marks flared. One on her chest. One on his. A permanent reminder that love wasn't a weakness. It was war. And they had won. Final line narration. They gave us to each other as symbols. But we became something more, proof that peace doesn't come from treaties, it comes from hearts willing to burn.